Hello ladies and gentlemen, Kage here. I'm going to be going over a few changes that are happening to Overwatch via the PTR, but today we're going to be focusing on Ana Amari, the new character, new sniper, who is also a support. This should come as no surprise to many people, as there were a lot of rumors that the next character would actually be Sombra, who has been mentioned a few times in a few voice lines, especially by Reaper. But this is not the same character. This is Ana Amari, who is the mother of Faria Amari. I think I said that right. I may have said it wrong. Anyway, she is the mother of the character we all know as Farah. Yes, so she makes a comeback, and we will be going over the training area here to kind of show you what she can do, what she's all about. I may try and get some gameplay footage of her, but on the PTR, a lot of people are playing as her, and so the matches are a little weird right now. So, Ana is our first sniper support, and the third sniper overall to join Overwatch. The interesting thing about her, tons of different mechanics that are in play here. So she has a weapon that, based on what you hit, is going to either do damage or heal. You hit an enemy and you do damage. But if you hit an ally, you heal them. She fires at about 1 shot per second, as you can see here, and she has about 6 shots she can fire before she has to reload. Her reload is fairly quick, though, so you shouldn't have to worry about running out of ammo when you need it. So let's kind of go over the numbers of what happens here, as well as the mechanics. First of all, this rifle. I want to point out that the shot that you fire here, you can kind of see, it might be hard to make out on the video, especially with how fast it travels, but you can see that the shot you're firing is a projectile. It's not like Widowmaker, who uses a hit scan weapon that hits instantly. This one actually does have a travel time. It doesn't look like it has any drop, though, so you will be firing just pretty much perfectly straight. But you'll notice, when I fire, and by the time it does damage, there is a delay, about maybe a half a second delay. Another thing to note is that headshots do not matter on this rifle. It will do the same amount of damage every time you hit. This gun does about 80 damage to an enemy player. So if you're looking to kill a character like Tracer, you're going to need to hit twice. Any other character at around the 200s, you're going to have to hit about 3 times. The damage is not done instantly, as you can see from the health bars. It hits and then does damage over time, but the damage over time is very quick. However, that does mean that the damage can be countered to prevent a death before you ultimately get the kill. So a Mercy or a Lucio or even another Ana can stop you from getting that kill if they can put in the heal just before the damage goes in. So while the damage on the gun appears to be about 80, the healing on the gun appears to be about 75. It's hard to tell with these lifelines, so I had to get a little bit of help to find out what the exact numbers were. I find it a little interesting that the damage numbers are off, and since they're off, they're only off by about 5. So in battle, if you need to make a decision between healing and damage, you want to decide whether or not you're going to be able to get that kill or not, because you're going to be doing the same damage regardless. What I would like to point out, though, since we talked about what her weapon does and how it's a projectile, you may notice it also has a scope. Of course, she is a sniper, but it doesn't scope in very far. This is definitely not like Widowmaker, and that you don't get a huge boost to it. But the scope does make one fundamental change to your abilities. The weapon becomes hit scan when you're in the scope. So whereas here, if I take a moment, and it takes a moment to hit, it hits instantly when I'm in the scope. So there are 2 fundamental gameplay differences here with Ana. So if you don't know if you're going to be able to make a hit, or maybe you're running behind allies and you just want to shoot them as you're running forward, you may want to consider running forward without the scope, so that you've got a projectile, because that projectile can hit people that are coming around corners, or can, if you're not completely accurate with your shots, maybe you can hit them as they're traveling towards you or around you. Especially with fast-moving targets, unless you have absolute trust in your aim, you may want to be using the non-scope mode. But the moment you're far away, maybe you've got a allied Farah who's in the sky, and you know that by the time your shot's going to get to her, she's going to drop. Maybe you'll want to switch to the rifle scope instead, so that you can get that instantaneous hit. The damage on the scoped version and non-scoped version are not different as far as I can tell. Alright, we've taken a look at Ana's Biotic Rifle. Let's take a look at her next ability, the ability on Shift, which is her Sleep Dart. This is a dart that puts the enemy to sleep. You may consider it to be a bit like McCree, but there are a few fundamental differences. One, it's got a longer cooldown. Two, it is a projectile that you need pinpoint accuracy for, which basically means three, you do not have an explosion or an AoE on it. The last one is that the stun on this dart is about 5 seconds. So if I were to hit this character here, you'll see he'll be out for about 5 seconds. Now, with this, you might think, oh, 5 seconds is a huge amount of time, especially since something like Reinhardt's ult does about the same thing. Well, you have to consider that, one, this will only hit one target, and two, the main difference is any damage to the target will wake them up immediately. So this is kind of a escape card. You see something big happening, maybe Pharah's in the sky doing Justice Reigns from above, or maybe McCree's doing his High Noon. You can try and stop them with this attack, but of course keep in mind it is a projectile that has a pretty narrow hitbox. And since it's on a 12-second cooldown, you're not going to be able to rely on it for too many things. You're not going to be able to use it in close combat very easily, but it is a way to escape if you are fairly accurate. I would also like to point out that while it is minor, the dart does do damage. It hits the enemy for roughly 5 points. Alright, now we're going to look at her Biotic Grenade. You see here that it says it throws a grenade that heals and increases healing, and it also does damage and prevents healing on enemies. It doesn't state exactly what these numbers are. This was one I definitely had to do some serious testing on. The good thing about this grenade is that it's got a fairly good range on it, and it's got a lob on it like most thrown weapons. So you can see it throws, and it has a pretty good range of effect. It hit both of these robots, and they took a bit of damage. Now, unfortunately, cooldown reduction on Ana doesn't exist on the PTR yet. It hasn't been hooked in. We can hit like that and you can see it. Now, you're not seeing it here in the training grounds, but when you hit an enemy with this grenade, their health bar will start flashing over their head, and you will see the healing symbol with a cross through it, meaning that they are not getting healing. And as you can see, if you're hit by it as an ally, you will see the arrows all around your screen. When you're hit by this as an enemy, it is very obvious when you've been hit by Ana's grenade, so you know if you're not taking healing. The grenade does roughly 60 points of damage, and again does have the splash, so you can get a... if you've got a group of enemies that you need to stop them from getting healing, or you need to do a bunch of damage, let's say the enemy team is using a Lucio, and maybe he's amped up the healing, you can throw this in to do the damage, and then stop Lucio's healing while it's amped up, making them have to use the healing in its normal state once it wears off. The grenade also does healing in an area, and it heals for more. The grenade actually heals for about 100 points of damage, so you can be, again, kind of like Lucio, where he amps up every so often. With this grenade, every few seconds, you can pump it down, and you've done 100 healing every 10 seconds, roughly. On top of that, because it boosts the healing that you do, you can easily bring up 1 or 2 heroes very quickly. In my tests, I've seen that the gun, which does about 75, and the grenade about 100, if you combine the two, you're gaining about 250 healing. So the boost on the grenade appears to be double. So if you've got a fellow Lucio or maybe a Mercy on your team and you throw down the grenade to help your allies, their healing will be magnified by 100%. So again, if you throw down one grenade and hit one shot, that's about 250 points of damage you've just healed up. So Ana has burst healing, the likes that you would see in burst damage characters. So while most other characters that heal can only heal over an amount of time, Ana can certainly make sure that your healing happens very quickly. Now, one interesting thing about the grenade is that it does prevent healing in all sources, not just from characters, but in my testing, the healing the healing dampening prevented characters from picking up health packs. So if you've been hit by the grenade, be advised that if you try to run for a health pack, you won't be able to pick it up until the grenade wears off. Now, the good news is you won't just pick it up and it won't do... It's not that you're going to pick it up and it won't do anything. You just literally will not pick it up. So for Ana's out there, if you're trying to stop someone from getting a health pack, do know that the health pack will still be there even if they touch it. So you're going to need to pick it up so that they can't get it when the grenade runs out. Alright, lastly we're going to take a look at Ana's ultimate, the Nano boost. I haven't gotten any raw numbers on this, as I didn't get a chance to pull a few people. I was able to get one person, but I couldn't get two people to really give this a good test over the last day or so. Nano boost increases an ally's speed, damage, and reduces the damage taken. Now there's been a general disagreement on some of the numbers I've seen for Nano boost. What I can gather is the general estimate is that it may be a 50% boost across the board. So when you activate the boost on a character, they may take half damage, deal 50% more damage, and also maybe even move 50% faster. You can't really see it here in the training, unfortunately. And even doing it in a real match, it's kind of hard to get a sense of the scaling that it does. This is why I kind of want to get more numbers. Even Oversheet, which usually has a lot of the numbers on it, has some disagreement on what the actual numbers are as far as Ana's Nano boost. But I would consider it that you were... I believe the argument on the damage increase is somewhere between 50 to 66%. And the reason for this is that in this PTR also, they have increased the damage buff on Mercy to give a 50% buff with her staff. So this being an ultimate ability, may be slightly higher, bringing it up to 66. It should at least be 50% more damage, as well as a 50% damage reduction. So the Nano boost is a great one to put on to characters that are going to charge in and be your initiators. I've seen some great effect on Reinhardts, who can go in and, since it pretty much gives them 50% additional damage, they're hitting almost as hard as a rocket in a wide arc swing, plus they're not taking a lot of damage. But you could give it to almost anyone. Someone that's about to ult, you can combine ult, such as a Reaper. Yeah, lots of different effects that this can be used in. I like her. I like Ana. I just kind of wish she wasn't a sniper because I'm so terrible at shooting. I really am. We all know this. We've seen it. I can do okay, but I can't really give you the clutch heal with this. But, again, it does have a projectile. And if I use the grenade to great effect, I can probably do some good with Ana in the background. So I kind of look forward to taking her out into the field. Before I forget, you can see that Ana is also a 200 hit point character there in the lower left-hand corner. So she is in the average area. Most characters, nearly all characters in this game are in that 200 category, unless they're Tracer or they're a tank. You do have the exceptions of Reaper and Mei being the 250 characters as well. So she'll be average out there. She won't be super weak. She won't be super strong. So that's a quick look at Ana's abilities, and hopefully maybe I'll give you guys a bit of gameplay at some point to kind of show off how she works. I wanted to at least talk about the mechanics so that you guys can speculate on how this works. Maybe see if Ana's a character you might want to play when she comes out. So to kind of recap, you've got healing on the gun as well as damage, a projectile when not scoped, a hit scan when scoped, a dart that has a 5-second knockout that has a projectile on it, but it also has a 12-second cooldown and they wake up when they're hit, and a grenade that boosts healing on allies, stops healings on enemies, and does 100 health when you hit allies, and does about 60 damage if you hit enemies. And prevents them from getting health packs. There you go. Everything I just said in a long video just condensed down to about a minute or less. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. That is Ana. I will be going over some of the other changes in a different video, so hopefully you liked it and you found it informative. Please let me know if there was anything that you would like to have seen done differently, or any information that I may have missed. Thank you very much, and have a pleasant day.